I just finished reading and watching The Martian by Andy Weir, and I am here to give you my thoughts on the book and how it compares to the movie and whether you should read it. Now, I had watched The Martian when it first came out, I think around 4 or 5 or 6 years ago now. Not sure exactly. But I watched it when it first came out. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was fine. But I knew it was a book, and I had always kind of been interested in reading the book. I have recently heard that Andy Weir's latest book, Project Hail Mary, is very good, and I'm excited to check that one out. But sort of in light of that, I decided, well, why don't I just throw The Martian on my list? And then it ended up coming first. I don't know how that. My lists are weird. Anyway, I read The Martian, and it was okay. I thought it was good. It was definitely a lot more technical than the movie. Now, I recently rewatched the movie after I finished reading the book to see if there were any changes or anything else that happened there. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts on that comparison as well. But when it came to the book, my biggest issue was that the characters felt very samey to me. Every single one of them had like the exact same voice, and I wasn't even that fond of the voice. There was just so much like nerdy joking, you know what I mean? Like nerdy jokes. And that's fine, but it was like a whole book of wall-to-wall nerdy jokes. And it wasn't even just that. It was like a whole wall-to-wall book of nerdy jokes, and then also the book itself and the people in the book itself patting itself on the back about its nerdy jokes, like, oh man, this guy's really funny, right, everyone? What a great guy he is. This is hilarious. Just constant like reinforcement of like, oh, okay, all right, I see what's happening here. So I didn't love that about The Martian, but I did like the technical aspects of the problem solving that happens. Obviously, this book is about a man that is trapped on Mars. He's left behind on Mars, and I think the real strength of the story is the other half of it, because and it's not really half, but a large portion of the book is spent with the character who's stuck on Mars and his journaling. That's the weaker part of the story to me. The journaling, again, full of like just snark and jokes and lots of yay. Yay. It's way too many yays in this book for my taste. That's okay. The problem solving is good. The other bits, fine. It's when we go to Earth and we see their perspective that it is able to add more emotional weight to the situation because of this notion of like, oh, like this is something that matters, and there's context to it, because you don't really get that from the sole perspective of the main character, who is, again, just constantly cracking jokes. You never really feel the emotional weight of what's happening to him from his perspective, and you really only get it from the perspective of an outside observer, which is that other portion of the story. I do think that plot-wise, it's very well constructed. When I read the book, it felt like a blockbuster. It felt like this is designed to provoke a certain emotion from me. It's a very structured, everything about this just fits with what you want to expect from a story like this, and it's going to hit all those notes, it's going to press all those buttons, and it's going to work. And so from that perspective, it's great. The situation, the concept of the story is great. It's a fascinating one, and it really sells its authenticity in terms of how it's solved as well. It's not one of these stories where it's just like, and then this MacGuffin happens, and then Deus Ex Machina over here. It feels earned when problems are solved, and I like the explanations of them, even though most of the time they went over my head. The fact that they were there, it helped sell the realism of it, which helps sell everything else. So I loved all of that. My biggest issue, again, comes from character, from dialogue. Again, every single character had the exact same voice and amount of snark, and that was disappointing. The movie, I thought, had an opportunity to really change this and help sell the characters a lot better. And it does, not to the degree I would have liked to see, but because there are actual great actors portraying the characters, even though a lot of the dialogue is ripped straight from the book, the actors are able to give the characters a lot more personality and flesh them out in a way that doesn't really exist in the book. And so I think that aspect is improved a bit. And overall, I did prefer the movie to the book because we're able to visually see a lot of what kind of goes over your head when you're reading the book, or at least it did for me, as well as improve on the portrayals of the various characters in the book. So I would honestly not recommend reading the book unless you're very interested in the more technical side of how these problems were solved. If you're interested in the story and you want to see the best version of the story, I think that's the movie, and I would recommend checking out the movie. I think it's worth watching. The only other reason to read this book is if you are just a big fan of nerdy humor and that kind of snark, because it's not really for me, but I'm sure it is for other people. And so if you are into that, there's more of that. If you've seen the movie and you liked a lot of that humor, and I think it works a lot better in the movie than it does in the book, you want to see more of it though, and you're like really into it, go for it, check that out. But otherwise, just watch the movie, and I think you're good. And those are my thoughts on The Martian. I will be reading Project Hail Mary at some point. I hope that the characters are a little stronger in that book. I know a lot of people are really enjoying it, so I will give you my thoughts on that when I get to it. But for now, thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of these, more thoughts on books, whether you should read them or not, what kind of feel or vibe they have, especially when it comes to characters, because that's what I like to care about a lot. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of these. If you like to read and you want to hear thoughts on books to get a sense of what they're like before you commit to reading them, it's a great place to be. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed this, thought it was useful to you in any way, and I will see you next time.